Mozambique's growth has been driven by political stability, foreign direct investment and aid inflows. But to make the domestic growth base for businesses, there needs to be a sound and active financial industry. At the moment, Mozambique's financial sector is still decidedly small and dominated by foreign banks.
The return on investment has been highest in Mozambique than anywhere worldwide in the last 2-3 years in the financial sector. So the profitability, if you will, of the Mozambique financial sector has been exceptional. Now, partially this is due to a yet small financial sector with 3 or 4, there is about 12 banks, but 3 or 4 major players that don't face very much competition. Partially is due to a situation where that allows these banks to charge fairly high fees by, in a way, regional or international standards. So not necessarily an efficient financial sector, but a highly profitable financial sector. And that is expected to lead to increasing competition. You know, if there are good returns, more people will come in and increase financial services. But in terms of access to credit, we're still very much behind. We're still very much where we were in 2003, 2005.
For Mundo's, a local restaurant which started out as a hot dog stand serving UN observers during the country's first elections, this problem is all too evident. The restaurant has grown into a household name in Mozambique, but accessing finance to expand into other areas like tourism is a challenge.
We're trying to get finance through the banks, and although our local bank managers here are very happy with the idea, obviously gets referred to England and Portugal, and they need more surety, more cash down from our side. Obviously there's more regulations on terms of the bank side. The government's very happy to lend. Obviously they want more business to grow, but it is an issue. We're finding it a bit tough to get a loan.
On the other hand, it's hard to blame banks for being cautious here when looking at the turmoil in the world's most developed financial markets.
The banks are always keen to fund new projects. You know, we as one bank will go into syndications with other banks if we feel that the project is viable. And this is how we would like to grow our balance sheets. Our balance sheets allow us to invest into projects. I think sometimes the clients do say that the banks are restrictive, but let's look what's happened over the past year or so, where banks have become more conservative to who they lend to and how they lend it to and what projects they're lending it to.
The central bank has stepped in to address some of these issues.
The commitment from the central bank is that they will try to discipline the sector. They have issued a regulation that removes all kind of fees, commissions that are not declared that banks used to charge. So since the 10th of September, most of this, for any kind of whatever you check your balance, you will have to pay commission. Whatever you make a deposit, you have to pay commission. For other commission we're not even declaring. So the government is just putting more discipline on that, and they're trying to reduce the discount rate or the requirements in terms of reserves from the private bank into the central banks.
And banks have responded positively.
The reserve requirements have come down quite considerably since I've been here, which also frees up cash for us to on-lend to our clients. So they are trying to stimulate credit growth within Mozambique in Meticash. They're trying to steer away from foreign currency loans if possible, because it's a drain on reserves, but for us to lend into local currency.
But for some companies, future prospects for expansion and funding lie offshore. Meet Gavin van der Berg. He started his seafood company with a 100,000 Rand overdraft facility, that's just over $13,000. Now his company turns over 10 times that amount. He's taken advantage of Mozambique's biggest non-mega project export, prawns, and exports to Europe and the US. And he's just signed a deal with giant retailer Costco. He says even though the global downturn has hit the pockets of consumers, his products are still in demand.
There's been some very interesting statistics that have been done by the research companies in the States, and that's a lot of the people in the United States are eating out less, but they're buying in more of the products from the retail stores, etc. Las Vegas, for example, will always do well. It's just the nature of the industry. But companies like Costco, for example, are reporting an annualized 8% year-on-year growth, and they're not really affected that much by the recession.
For Ocean Fresh, neighbouring South Africa, while the biggest trading partner for Mozambique, isn't a major market for his company.
The biggest stumbling block that you've got is where you're going to market your product. 9 years ago, before the advent and the influx of Indian black tiger prawns into the domestic market, all the prawns and crayfish that you could get were literally from Mozambique. That market is now closed in South Africa totally. The South African consumer is after a price product rather than, in my opinion, a quality product, what we produce here. But we identified that area in need of development some 3 years ago, and for the last 2 years have been working on taking the product to a better market in terms of financial realization, hence the United States.
But there's no lack of demand by South Africans when it comes to Mozambique's unspoilt beaches.